Hi, and welcome to another Speakers on Edge. We're doing 15 minutes of fame today, and oh boy, have we got a voice of vision with a message that matters and a name. His name is Zen. Zen, who are you?
Oh gosh, how can I truncate that, right? How can you put Zen into a very simple phrase? Well, first off, I started off as an orphan. I was adopted at 6 weeks, had a spiritual awakening at 18, and a rite of passage when I was in the pre-med program in college. I had knelt in prayer to know what truth was, and I was willing to die for it if necessary. And a few days later, did, according to all the facts and figures of near-death studies anyway. Um, then I went out, left college, went into the aerospace, moved to Arizona from Indiana, began in the aerospace industry uh, as a machinist, went into production control in charge of $7 million a month in shipments, uh, instituted interpersonal skills classes while I was there. I became a disruptor in the mid 80s, as you know, that interpersonal skills weren't all that prevalent at that time. It was more beat people over your head or over their head to get what you needed, and there was no emotional intelligence involved. So I began that in the aerospace industry, became a disruptor, eventually left the industry, started producing a TV show in 1990, went back to school, got an MBA in 97, a teaching cert in 98, an M&A.
I've
Yes.
got to ask, you went from the aerospace industry into producing a TV show. Okay, I can see how they join. Yeah, that seems like a natural career progression.
Well, yes, for me especially. So, having left the industry, the disruptor that I became, I also went through a divorce in the same week that my demotion was final. So, after leaving, going through the divorce, being expelled from the church, and all of those kinds of things, it's like, okay, how do I deal with this? Well, maybe if I ask others what their operational capacity was in their own lives, maybe I can get a clue and figure out how to navigate this life better so that I avoided those kerfuffles like I just had. So I started asking people, how'd you get where you're at? What fears did you encounter? How'd you overcome them? What prompted you to do what you're doing from both inner and outer perspectives? How did that fit into the common human experience around you? So I did 120 shows with probably 200 guests where I asked a lot of questions like that and listened intently. And then I found that by putting two people with disparate backgrounds together, that they would actually say the same thing in a different language, all English, of course. However, they would use different jargon and things of that nature. And then it gave me the ability to reflect to them that they're saying the same thing differently and then seek agreement from them that, yeah, that's true. So this gave the opportunity to have golden threads appear of consistency in the process that people went through in order to achieve their dreams. And when I was in the aerospace industry, one of the things I wanted to do was bridge spiritual and business practices. And so I registered Be the Dream in 1988 with that intent. And here we are, how many years later, and I'm on that path still in bridging those inner and outer worlds to make things more fluent, more effective, more efficient, more cohesive and coherent in personal and professional environments.
And what was your biggest challenge back then to overcome?
Feeling like I had made mistakes. So
So
in
your biggest challenge was actually you?
Oh, isn't it always, right? So yeah, one of the things I found out early on after my spiritual experience in college, I looked up the word Satan to see what it meant or where it came from, and in the big, huge, A through M and L or A through L, M through Z collegiate dictionaries, the first entry was from the Greek, phaeton, Thetan, meaning thinker. So that gives evidence to we're our own adversary. Right? We're taught to self-deprecate instead of self-elevate. And that turns into confidence can also often be misread as ego.
You are talking to a person who totally understands exactly what you're saying here.
We've got the background to do so.
We have people who try to, oh, you're being egoistic. Oh, look at you. Yet the reality of it is we're not being egoistic. We're showing our confidence.
Right.
We're showing our passion.
You know what you know. Your truth is your experience. That's the only thing that you can rely on. Now, your experience can be different depending on the perspective that you have in entering any situation. You can go in feeling decrepit, to begin with, or unable to achieve whatever. And so you're going to present yourself as insecure. Then on the other side, you can go into a situation thinking, okay, I can handle this. Whatever it is, I know there's a way through, and I'm going to find it. And then ask the questions and shut up and listen.
The shut up and listen is always the hardest thing of all when we're thinking those thoughts.
Sure.
What's something that you've done that helps people overcome that craziness that's in their heads?
There's a very simple process, and I think it's originally where the idea or the notion of prayer came from. Putting your fingertips together, deepening your breath, and feeling your heartbeat in them. So essentially what you're doing is you're getting air out of your head and into your body. And your body is one of the most reliable transceivers that you will encounter, because the body senses everything. And it feeds in to that supercomputer on top of your shoulders. Now, if you can quiet that supercomputer long enough, well, we got 70,000 thoughts a day. Well, if you can begin to manage, pay attention to how you're thinking, what you're thinking, and then that gives you the ability, the awareness, to be able to change those thoughts in process. Now, that's a discipline, and it's often a very tough one. Now, with my coaching, that's what I focus on initially with people, is to get them to quiet themselves, to realize, all this extraneous information and details and things aren't relevant in the internal processing that you have before entering an environment. And what that means is that you hit the pause button and you reflect. You ask a question like, okay, how may I serve in my best given this situation? And then pause and reflect. Look around. Just give yourself a moment, and I'll guarantee you will have something emerge from within you that will give you the breadcrumbs to follow, and the results will speak for themselves.
But I don't want breadcrumbs. I want answers now. That's usually how we go through this. I want answers now. Give me the answers now.
Right. And those answers are available when you have the patience to receive them. We tend to want to push or pull energy to get what we want or think we need, when in fact, it's all about flow. And to be able to position yourself to be quiet, to have a pause button, to reflect on the moment, it doesn't take long. The more you practice it, the quicker it happens. And it goes from second nature to first nature.
But I've got a wife, a husband, 14 kids, 3 dogs, 2 elephants, 6 cats, and 2 guinea pigs. I've got 3 jobs. I've got family. They're all hitting at me from all directions.
Absolutely.
How am I supposed to cope?
Well, Tom Campbell has a great notion in that we are an avatar, right? And we live in a virtual space. And where we focus our attention, intention, and interactions for the moment is that data stream that we engage. And each one of those things that you just mentioned is a specific data stream. We don't have to put it all together. They're all things that are part of the process of our living. And when we can slow down and not get so overwhelmed by thinking, oh, I got to go do this, I got to go do that, I got to pay attention to this, those things will come up. There's a natural order, there's natural patterns, rhythms. As a project manager in the aerospace industry, I charge of 800 part numbers, right? So there's all these kinds of patterns and systems that are in place for each one of these to get produced. And those are like stacked dimensions on a blueprint, right? Where each of those things has its own priority, its own rhythm, and to be able to step back and observe those then gives you the opportunity to address them when necessary, because they'll show up that way because you're paying attention to what's showing up in front of you, taking care of it in that moment, not postponing it, not procrastinating. It's a do it now kind of thing, like Nike, right? Just do it, right? And so that gives you the discipline and the practice of better time management to take care of those things when necessary instead of when you think they are necessary. Because we cannot think our way through a system built on vibration. We know that from quantum physics now, right? We have to sense our way through it. That's a different set of sensory apparatus that we most of the time haven't engaged yet, and yet each of us have it built in.
So if we have it built in, I wanted to ask why we're not listening to it, but instead I want to ask, how can we make it easier to listen to?
Well, first of all, we have to be willing to be vulnerable, to talk about what's going on inside of us with cohorts, with friends, with close people, and understand that, yeah, they may not understand exactly what we're saying. That's not really necessary. When we can hear ourselves talk, we reveal how we're thinking in that moment. And so the observer is able to process much clearer and reflect back so that the next time something like that happens, we can shift our behavior, our thinking, our actions, the engagement to a better place because we've had that reflection time to be able to do so.
And what would be the biggest piece of advice or situation that has happened to you in your life that has truly transformed you?
Well, there's been a number. The one thing that I've gained from everything is the faith, love, and trust in that which you are and the connectedness that you have that you may not be aware of yet.
Faith, love, and trust. 3 very simple words with absolutely massive meanings.
Absolutely. Volumes have been written about those 3.
Oh, and wars have been fought over faith, love, and trust.
Absolutely.
Society,
right? You know, the core of our being simply wants to love and be loved. That's what we're built for. That's what the energy is. You know, it's unqualified when we receive it. We qualify that energy through how we think, feel, believe, and act.
when you just said we want to love and be loved, I've been coaching as well for almost 30 years. And when people say to me, I don't know my purpose, well, I tell them your purpose is not to be an accountant, a lawyer, a shop assistant, a truck driver, a mother, a father, whatever. Your purpose is to love and be loved. Your passion is the job, the industry, the relationships.
Right. And that shows up when you focus on that and you ask, okay, what am I to do? Well, you've got embedded attitude, aptitude, altitude, skill sets that you've developed, especially in your mid 40s, right? I had a psychiatrist that I saw early after my spiritual awakening at 18. My parents said, oh, you need to go talk to somebody, right? Because it just blew them away. They couldn't handle it. And
Perfectly fine.
Right? However, it gives us the ability to look at, okay, now what's the pattern here? Most people don't go through a spiritual awakening till the mid 40s, if they ever do. Well, why is that? Empty nesting, career change, career burnout, right? Relationship burnout, all of those kinds of things. You're ready to shift into something new, but you may not know how to do that. Well, that's where guys like you and I and others come in and say, okay, I can help you do that when you trust me to be able to lead you into a place of more loving kindness for yourself first. And then, because if you don't do that, you can't give it to others.
And this is the biggest piece of advice today. Be loving and kind to yourself so that you can give it to others.
Yeah.
Zen, you're amazing and time is ticking. So where can people find you?
They can find me at bethedream.com. So,
fantastic.
As I said before, I've had that name for, since 1988. Gone through many transformations myself.
That is incredible. You truly are living the dream. Zen, thank you for being on the show. We'll also have your photo on our 15 Minutes of Fame page on speakersonedge.com and a button that links direct to you. Thank you for being on the show. It's been an absolute pleasure. Folks, faith, love, trust, and be kind to you so you can be kind to the others. That's our voice of vision today. And this was definitely a message that mattered. We'll see you next time on the show. Bye.